Tonight on the new Inventors, why water holes need bouncers, a giant water tank that's invisible, and we enter the astonishingly incredible world of boatball. During the drought, farmers had to create artificial water supplies for their stock, things like troughs and dams. There was hardly enough to go around. But what made it more difficult was that other animals, such as wild goats and pigs, would gate crash the party and have a drink too. Well, that party is about to get a new electronic bouncer.
We all know how valuable resources are when there's a drought, but protecting those resources can be very difficult.
Farmers fill their water troughs only to find wild pigs and other animals drink much of the water meant for stock.
So, how can we keep some animals away while letting others in?
Animal recognition technology is an animal management system that uses software to tell the sheep from the wolves.
It's programmed to activate a gate to open or close depending on which animal you want to keep in or keep out.
Animals are funneled towards the gate by a V-shaped fence. As each animal passes a blue screen, a video camera records its image and compares the animal's outline to a database to determine which species it is and whether it will be excluded or trapped. The system can distinguish between horses, cows, sheep, goats, pigs, kangaroos and emus. Animal recognition technology lets you count the animals, keep some of them in, or keep others away.
Please welcome Neil Finch and Mark Dunn. G'day, g'day. Thanks for coming in. Now, we should make it clear, the main use for this, although there will be other uses, is if you've got an artificially created water supply, you put a fence around the dam, you have this at one gate, around the other end you have another gate where they can get out, and it keeps animals you don't want to get into the dam from getting in. But what happens to those animals that don't get in? Do they just stay outside and, you know, die, or what?
No, basically they'll travel onto the nearest water course. So we're only putting this on artificial water. So right. We're not going to be putting it around lakes or dams.
So they will go where they would normally have gone before that artificial water supply existed.
That's correct.
Okay, so that gate's open, but if a goat tries to get in, let's see what happens. A wild goat, a goat that you don't want to get in and drink all your precious water, he comes across the screen, picks him up, and the gate swings over, doesn't get in. Bounced. Fantastic. Now, when a sheep comes across that you want to get in, it'll be picked up by this webcam here. That's what's creating the image on the screen. It recognises it as a sheep. The gate opens and the sheep goes and gets a drink. Round of applause. Isn't that fantastic? Let's come across to the panel. Now, it's great news that you've sold 3 of these already, haven't you, in Queensland?
Yes, yep.
Is it 10 grand each?
That's right.
And you're using them in national parks to let the kangaroos and the natives get a drink but stop the feral animals.
They can be used for that, yes,
the wild pigs.
That's right, that's right.
So you can program it any way you like. What do you think, Chris? It's amazing.
Yeah, very clever, the way they've done this. I guess, Neil, could I ask you, why, though, is this better than the simple system of just tagging? I'm just talking agricultural use here, not just putting the wildlife use to one side. Yep. Why is it not better just to have a tagging or microchipping system which identifies every animal and you don't... the risk of it misfiring is not as great?
I guess we see all sorts of benefits in being able to identify the animal to a species level and then being able to count them and then discriminate, and then you make your selection as to what you want to do. Currently, the sheep industry is still fighting against radio frequency tags in the stocks. There's so many millions out there.
What's the accuracy?
Somewhere between 90 and 95%.
So 5% of the animals are not going to be
Yeah, but if a sheep misses out, it just goes around and has another go.
It can come around and have another go, and it's got another 90 to 95% chance of getting in the next time.
So if the whole thing clogs, what's the fail-safe? Does it all open up and just let everything...
Exactly right. Okay. So it's always going to... If it checks if the power goes down or if it can't read from the computer, the gate opens automatically.
And everyone gets in.
They should have one around King's Cross to stop footballers getting in there.
You've got the moment you'll have a computer out there running all the time in a box and all of that kind of stuff. Is there plans in the future to sort of streamline that into a more contained unit?
Yeah, it's 90% of the way there. We've tested it in certain locations and we know what's happened there. I can guarantee you everywhere you put it, there's going to be something new. So it really comes down to the person installing it will have to learn how to use it, but basically they've got the package, they can recognise the animals, they can set the gate up before, after, they can draft them, they can trap them, they can exclude them, or they can do away with the gate and everything, they can just count them. So the applications, we've had interest from the UK and also from the States. They want to identify animals to a species level, to give them immunocontraceptions or to give them vaccines.
Christine.
Mark, I'm interested to see how foolproof the software is, so that if you've shorn the sheep, does it still say it's a sheep? Or if the goat's dehorned, does it still say it's a goat? How often do you have to keep reprogramming to counter those problems?
Well, not very often. Once you've built up the library of templates, which is just by a few dozen animals going through of either species, and then there are a few things like, you know, if it's got a tail, it's probably not a sheep, and if it's got horns, it's probably not a sheep. So, but once you've done that, it is fairly accurate, except for if you introduce a new species or a new type of sheep.
Summing up, Chris?
I can see a whole new world for the wolf in sheep's clothing here coming up. But, I mean, in our Future Special last year, we talked about the importance of virtual fencing and remote control of animals. This is another significant advance and another track for that. Very important advance and I think very clever.
I love that you're doing all the research and the consultation too before you finalise the design, but I think this is a really great application for this technology because unlike the face recognition stuff, you don't need it to be 100%.
No, we don't.
Part of me worries about animals standing in a queue when they're thirsty and they're so desperate to get through and they're having to go in one at a time. But I guess this is things you've thought of, so that's the kind of thing that, you know...
We have thousands of sheep going through, so it's, they trickle through.
OK.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Please thank Neil Finch and Mark Brown. Thanks very much. Thanks very much.